track lead source tracking, and in addition to the lead source tracking, how are the sales tracked based on the salesperson? And the third question around this sales tracking lead conversion is, how do I track the effectiveness of a marketing campaign, and what is my cost per acquired client and my sales basically closing conversion ratio on that campaign? And finally, what is my lifetime value per lead source for my marketing function? So going into this year, hot topic is everybody's looking to grow their business. And if you listen to any of the videos we've been putting out lately, especially around what's going on in the world these days, we're recommending to double down your marketing spend and track and continue to grow and scale your business as most businesses can track. So the idea here is we really want to be able to go out and track, how did our clients hear about us? How many of them converted into clients? What was the cost? And how do we go out and track referrals from our existing leads or clients in the system? So the way to tackle this is we're going to jump in the service autopilot, as I always do on Callahan's Corner. So once again, if you have any questions that you'd like answered live on Callahan's Corner, if you have any comments or questions while we're live tonight, I've got an extra few minutes. Anybody watching live, if you have some questions, we may even dive into your questions right now live on Facebook. But first thing we're going to do is dive in and flip down the screen and go into lead source tracking, lead conversion, marketing campaign tracking, and client lifetime value, and a few other things, how to set this up in Service Autopilot. So we're going to knock down the screen here and dive into it. So first thing we're going to do in Service Autopilot that we want to do foundationally, when we set up a form, we want to be able to set the form source to website lead conversion. So without going into the form, I'm going to actually just go in and grab the actual lead source. So I'm going to go in here and type in lead source, or actually sources. Type in like it's a Monday, but it's not a Monday. So we're going to go into client source and go in and put in the lead source. So we're going to put it in, and we're going to do a EDDM, so every door direct mailing. And for some of these here, or we're going to do website, but basically each one of these needs to be set up. But the interesting thing here is there's two different ways of tackling it. So if you're doing every door direct mailing, you may want to define what every door direct mailing. So maybe you have one with prices, one without prices, one a picture of people laying in the lawn with a dog, whatever that is. Define that actual source itself so we can track it. So what we're going to do is put the name in, and then when we actually go out to do the actual marketing campaign, we want to come back under Add Campaign and put the start end date. So let's say this started March 1st, and it's running up through April 15th of this year. And we're going to go in and put the quantity distribution. So let's say there's 10,000 of these every door direct mailings, and the cost of it is costing us $4,500. So by plugging this in each and every time we have a lead come in, and I'm going to show you how to capture this information and track it when people come in, and I'll give you a few tricks as well. If they came in between March 1st and April 15th, that lead acquisition is accounted to not only the every door direct mailing, but that specific marketing campaign. So then we can have statistics in the report center that's going to say X amount of people came in off 10,000 flyers. So out of 10,000 flyers, let's say we had 500 estimates created. Out of those 500 estimates created, let's say we closed 50%. So we had 50 or 250 jobs. So we could then, in the reporting center, it was going to take the 250 into the 4,500 and give you a cost per acquired account. Then once we have some statistics in there and several years worth of data, we can actually run a client lifetime value based on each marketing source or campaign. So I'm willing to bet like something like Home Advisor may have a really cheap lead acquisition. Maybe it's $30 or $40 per lead acquisition, or client acquisition. Or a Facebook ad may have $100 to maybe $80 of lead acquisition cost, or client acquisition cost. But when we go and run the stats, the client lifetime value of that Facebook ad could be $9,000 or $10,000. Your Home Advisor ad maybe be a couple $100. So the value of that lead is significantly more profitable in that generic example on Facebook than it is Home Advisor. So these are the things we actually want to be able to dive in and not emotionally build out a marketing plan around. So the first thing is we want to go into that gear icon. We want to go into sources, and we want to go into client source and select all or create all the sources that would be applicable for your business. And then also include website. So when we have the form for your website in a V3 form, or if you're still using a V2 form, the source acquisition should be from the website. So we can see how many people came from your website, how many created estimates, how many became clients, and we can go in and drive that as well. Now, a lot of times it's hard to tell the specific lead source or marketing source a client came from. Best bet is literally the last place to pause that or cause them to drive and get that estimate is probably the safest way. But there's many thoughts on that, so I'm not going to get into that conversation today. But that's the idea. But we want, first of all, go into the gear icon, go into client sources, and build these out. Next thing is when we go in to add a lead. So if they've come off the website, we've already captured the lead. They should be automatically created through a V3 form or a V2 form. V3 form is going to check for duplicates and automatically create a lead. With a V3 form, it will not create a client, but in this scenario, we don't want it to automatically create a client. And we do want them to convert from a lead to client. So there is a method to the madness why Service Autopilot built it the way they did. And I 100% back the reasoning behind it when you look at good data in, good data out with data conversion. But the idea is if they didn't come off the website, we want to go in and add this lead. And when we add this lead in, I'm going to just put in our tester account here, and I'm going to put this in with a number behind it. But we're going to go in and we're going to take this information, and this is going to answer two of the main questions that we had about client referrals and lead source tracking, how we know. And we've already set up our marketing campaigns on the lead source. This will drive right into them. But we get our first name, last name. If it's a commercial client, we'd stick the commercial client's name in here. We're going to type in the service address. The billing address over here automatically loads. And the two main things that we have to get, in my opinion, is the email, and we've got to get their cell phone. When in doubt, always put it in the cell phone, because this is going to tie into different automation, marketing, and two-way texting features now and in the future that SA is building. Cell phone provider, you do not have to touch this. This is a legacy feature. A lot of people get hung up on this. For 15 bucks a month, two-way texting is the way to go. So once again, ignore this. That does not matter. Now, as I'm on the page here, if Mrs. Smith or whoever it is owns multiple properties, we can select the master property and make it a sub-property, because that's another video we're going to be making later this week about creating master properties with sub-properties for billing. That's the one of the next videos we're going to be making. But be aware that this is here if you have somebody that owns multiple properties. So we did all the Rite Aids in the city for a while. That was one property manager with multiple properties underneath. Next thing is we should be going to details and selecting account type, commercial and residential. That's going to go and define some of your marketing and your ability for different automations. Now, the answer for the question for Callahan's Corner was, how do we track it? What's the best practice? So we want to go in and select source. And if we had already stuck it in here, let's just say it's on Angie's list. Now, maybe Mrs. Smith or whoever it was referred somebody in. So this is where we'd go into referred by, and all, if this was a real account, not a test account, we would have all our leads and clients. So if tested the client was the referring client, we can now run a report and then see how many people tester actually referred. So we actually had a older lady that only did a spring cleanup in our business, and we were thinking about doing just anybody who had a full maintenance package. That was the only way we were going to operate. But we ran this report. We realized it was a handful of people, especially this one lady, that she did maybe $150 to $200 spring cleanup, but she was referring $15,000 to $20,000 of work to all her friends at church each year. So to make that decision knee-jerk would have been detrimental, because this older woman who was just getting the spring cleanup was a huge client lifetime referral value. So that was the things you need to look at when you do this. And the next thing is salesperson. So if we had some salespeople tested in this test account, there would be the ability to assign the salesperson. Now, one thing of note that you really want to be aware of when you assign a salesperson is they become the salesperson on record. So out the gate, the first sale or estimate, that's not a big deal. But let's say tester here buys our weekly mowing or our weekly cleaning, or let's just say our one-time spring cleanup, or cleaning maybe a one-time deep clean. If Dylan on my team goes out and does the next estimate, he will not get credit for this sale based on the reporting, because it's based on the salesperson on record. So that would need to be updated, or through some other things that we'll show in later videos, how to track that on the other person and build a custom report around that in the report center. But those are the main ideas that you really need to do. So you need to be going in, gear icon client source, build all your client sources out. We need to go in, get all the personal information in here. Under details, commercial or residential, and then sales, we need to go in and select the source, and if they were referred by somebody, stick it in there. That is going to get you all the good data in, so you have good data out. And then the final thing that we just hit on in the beginning of the video that I want to reinforce that's really important is when you go into client sources, it's not enough to just have them set up, but you also need to go in and set up your marketing campaigns when you do them, so it can be accredited to the specific marketing campaign, so we can see how many leads came in, how many converted into clients, and then the lifetime value of that marketing campaign. Those are the key parts that you need to know about lead source tracking, lead acquisition, and marketing tracking in Service Autopilot. So if you have any comments or questions, drop them below here in the live feed. I'm happy to answer them here. I'm just going to double check on my phone, because sometimes in the live feed here, it does not show the comments. But if you have any questions or comments around this, I am happy to answer them live here, and we will go for there. But give me a minute. I'm going to take a look at it just to see before I wrap up this video. But once again, Callahan's Corner, you ask the questions, we answer them live on Facebook, and we're happy to basically show you what that looks like each and every time we do it. So doesn't look like, at least on my camera or the live feed, there is any questions. If there is, and I'm missing any set questions, we will definitely circle back and answer those in the recorded version. So if you're looking at lead source tracking, lead acquisition costs, that's how it's done in best practice in Service Autopilot. So once again, Callahan's Corner going to be coming back at you again tomorrow. You ask the questions, we answer them live right here on Facebook. If you are a follower of Simple Growth in the SA Weekly Talk Show, Brett Gillian of Elite Forum, Elite Mentum, and Elite Masterminds is going to be on live at 4 Eastern approximately tomorrow for tough conversations that you need to have with your staff when there are not a good cultural fit, or they're not producing the way they have or way they should. So it's going to be a huge, huge Facebook Live, 4 Eastern tomorrow, right on the Simple Growth page. SA Weekly Talk Show coming back at you on a weekly basis once again. So we'll see you there, either on the SA Weekly Talk Show or Callahan's Corner tomorrow evening.